Bill Fahy, How One Man's Mistake Can Teach Us All About Awareness and Safety. This one's a different type of podcast. I interviewed Bill and he told me, and he's now telling you, an amazing story about what nearly happened and went wrong. So Bill is a Texas-based website designer and firearms instructor with extensive experience in self-defense and situational awareness. Despite this background, Bill faced a potentially dangerous situation that emphasized the importance of constant vigilance. Now, in addition to his professional work, Bill is also a passionate advocate for veterans' mental health, actively supporting Camp Hope, a vital initiative aiding veterans suffering from PTSD. Now, back to Bill's story. Despite his training, he ignored red flags like a suspiciously parked car and a seemingly innocent young woman engaging him in conversation, otherwise known as the come on. His gut instinct told him something was off, yet he dismissed it. Fortunately, when the situation escalated, Bill's quick thinking and assertive response deterred the potential threat, and he won. This experience reinforced a critical lesson. Even experienced individuals can become complacent, making consistent awareness and preparedness essential. Here are the key insights for enhancing your personal safety. Number one, trust your instincts. Number two, be present and aware. Number three, project confidence. Number four, avoid distractions. And number five, have a plan. Beyond his safety insights, Bill's advocacy for veterans shines through with his involvement with Camp Hope. This organization provides immediate assistance to veterans dealing with PTSD, offering free accommodation and community support from fellow veterans. Bill's dedication to this cause highlights the urgent need for mental health resources for those who have served. Now, Bill started his career in tech, opening FDI Creative Services, a website development firm, in 1996 in Chicago, Illinois. Bill is also a firearms enthusiast and competitive shooter, competing in IPSC matches for most of his adult life. Bill's main focus is the web design field to help firearms dealers, hunting and fishing outfitters, as well as various other industries, to build their business through web design and internet marketing. This passion led Bill to partner with Mark Atchison, an NRA pistol instructor and federal firearms licensee. Together they built everythinggun.com, evgun.com, and armsads.com. Check out the links in the show notes below. These websites provide online shopping for firearms and gear, in addition to pistol training and concealed carry licensing. You can find more about Bill and his initiatives at the show notes below: camp-hope.com, fdicreative.com, Bill's website design company and main business, everythinggun.com, and his e-commerce firearms website, and of course on Instagram, instagram.com, Bill Fahy. Thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator, subject matter expert from hownottoDieGuy.com. And you're listening to my Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast, sponsored by State, the ultimate daily formula for optimum hormone health, stress management, energy, and performance. 100% natural and clinically proven ingredients. Provides everything you need to raise your game in a convenient, gut-friendly capsule. And my new sponsor, Michael Mason of the Mason Survival Protocol. Links for my former shows are in the show notes below. Thanks for watching. And we're live. Welcome to the Straight Talk Mind and Muscle podcast. Welcome to my guest all the way from the great state of Texas, Bill Fahy. Bill, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome. You one of many guests from the USA. I love Texas. I was there myself. Clint Emerson, Navy SEAL, he's over that way, and a whole bunch of my Green Beret buddies and other Special Forces guys. So it's great to have you there. Man, Bill, I just want to get some background on you, what you do there, and then I'm going to go through what we're here to talk about, which is like a how not to die situation. Pretty amazing situation that I thought it was so great of you to reach out and be open enough to speak to people and tell them what happened. So what are you doing over there in Houston?
So my primary job is I own a website design and marketing company. And I'm also a firearms enthusiast. So after 30 years of being in the website design business, about 3 years ago, I partnered with a gentleman and we started teaching Texas license to carry classes so people could get their license to carry. And with that comes about 8 hours of classroom, and we talk about statistics and legal issues, and then we bring them to the range and we kind of test their shooting capabilities. And because of that, a lot of people were coming that had really no shooting background, pistol shooting background.
Yep.
So we started EVGUN, which was a entry-level pistol training class.
Yep.
And so we do that. And so a lot of people will take that training class and then one weekend, and then the next weekend come and take the license to carry class. And they get to pass the test because they've actually shot a few hundred rounds the week before. And then, the way that it works in Texas, you send off your paperwork, and a couple of weeks later, they send you a little card in the mail, and now you can legally conceal carry a pistol in Texas.
Brilliant. It's funny when you said they fired a few hundred rounds. I was a police officer here in Western Australia, and Western Australian police each year they requalify. They only fire 1 to 2 magazines a year. So it's
Wow.
pretty crazy that the people who are likely to be the first responders and have to be on the other side of that gun are the least trained. But what was interesting
Wow.
to me, what you said there, you're teaching, concealed carry over there that would clearly take in some situation awareness, being aware of their surroundings. I mean, one of the
Yeah.
rules of guns is, be aware of what's behind what you're shooting at. So given situation awareness, quite a nice sort of lead into what happened to you. Someone who's highly trained in this actually teaches it.
Right.
What was the situation, or can you speak to the situation that we talked about?
You bet, you bet. And that's why I felt like I had to call you, because here's a guy who's shooting every week, who's teaching other people, how to be safe with their firearms, who's telling them the statistics of crime in this area and how you have to keep your head on a swivel. And so basically what happened was I made the cardinal rule mistake. I was just going to run out for a minute, right? I was just going
Yep.
to run up to the front of the neighborhood. We actually had a hurricane coming into town, and I
Wow.
needed to get a generator or something out of there. And so I normally would go and grab my carry pistol and maybe put a knife in my pocket or something like that and go about my way. But I was in a hurry and I didn't want to mess with it. And I'm like, today's not going to be the day. Well, today was the day. Today was the day. And so I get across the street. It's only a mile away from the house as well, or maybe two. I drive into this storage facility where we keep all of our stuff. And it's a drive-in place, a big overhead door. You press a button, get your code in, you drive in, and there's, maybe 50 storage units on either side of this place.
Yep.
So I pull up to my unit, which is halfway down on the right, and I notice there's a car parked in there already. Some other tenant must be getting something in or out of their storage unit, but I didn't see any people. I thought it was a little weird. But so I parked the truck and I get my unit opened up. And I'm messing around. I go back to go in my truck, and I kind of something catches my eye. Well, there's a young lady standing back over by the back of the other vehicle. Now I'm up probably 2 car lengths from where she is, and she's back here, and she's standing kind of at the corner of her truck, and we catch eye contact. So I say hello, and she says, "Oh, hi," and I continue getting stuff in and out of my storage unit. And the next thing you know, I come out of the unit and she's like standing right next to me and my truck. And when I first saw her, I thought my initial instinct was, okay, no threat, young, maybe 20-year-old girl in a dress. This is no type of threat.
Yep.
Now that she's standing next to me in my truck, I can see the sores on her face, the bruises on her arms that are very typical of somebody who's doing meth,
Yep.
a meth addict. And I realize, oh, all right, now I'm talking to a meth addict. And she starts telling me, I'm moving. I need to get out of town real fast. Do you have any cash on you? I have
Oh,
some equipment in my storage unit. And rather than move it, how about I just give it to you, or I sell it to you? And, my spidey senses start going off a little bit. I know that this is probably stolen merchandise, something like that. And I kind of say, no, no, ma'am, I'm okay. And so she goes back, she goes, well, I'll go take a picture of the stuff.
Oh,
And so she goes, disappears back behind her car into the storage area. And I'm wrapping up what I'm doing. And she comes back out as I'm just about getting ready to leave. And, now I'm, creeped out by the situation. She didn't look healthy. It looked like a lot of trouble.
yep,
And at this point, I still thought there was just one of them. And that was uh, my second bad was not thinking that there was more than one, right?
yep.
So now she comes over and gets my attention while I'm on the side of my truck. Now, this time she goes further towards the front of my truck. So I have to turn away from her vehicle and the door that she had just come out of. And she's holding her phone out like this, trying to get my attention. And at first she does, because I'm still thinking, okay, I'm all right. It's just this young lady here. And she's showing me pictures, and I hear like a rustling sound. And I kind of look over my shoulder, and there's a man rapidly approaching me from behind. He had
Oh
come out
no.
of the unit. It was a perfect setup. It's what they do in the movies, put a damsel in distress on the side of the road. Somebody comes over to try and render aid, and they get you, right?
Wow.
And I know about this stuff. That's the part that kills me. When I went home and told my wife the situation, she was like, "Are you an idiot? You tell us about this every day." I go, "I know." It was, I just was going to be gone a minute. And so, anyways, as I turned around and saw him, luckily I caught him before he was on me. He was still probably, 4 or 5 steps away. I turned around, realized what was happening, and so I decided to be aggressive. So I started moving towards him,
Yep.
going, "How you doing, buddy? How can I help you?" And that kind of took him off guard. He never even said a word. He turned around and went back in that door and disappeared back into that storage unit.
Yep.
And it was all that fast, man. I mean, it was, um, that had I not turned around at that exact time, who knows what would have happened? It would have been, 2-on-1 there in Texas. A lot of people have guns, and that's probably what saved me in this situation was when I turned around and I didn't show fear and I aggressively walked towards him. He probably figured, oh, this guy's a concealed carry, holder or license holder or something like that.
Yep.
And he decided it wasn't worth the trouble. So at that point, he disappeared. I told the young lady, please step away from me, locked up my stuff and just got out of there. But it's just like I've told everybody in our classes, you have to have situational awareness and pre-plan these things out so you know what to do. And if you're going to carry and you're going to be concerned about how not to die, you have to do it all the time.
Yeah, you do, man.
That's why I thought it was so important that I shared that with you.
It's such humility to be able to share that, Bill. Thank you so much. And this now is the pre-plan that someone listening to you can now have in their head because you've got a template. And now someone can have a file go, hey, that doesn't look right. I remember what this guy in Texas said on this show. Oh, and they can start to get ahead of the curve because you were behind the curve every step of the way. You're behind the curve when suddenly she was at your vehicle. You're behind the curve when she was showing you the photograph. You're behind the curve when he came out of the door. You hadn't seen him come out of that door. And then
Right.
you managed to start to get ahead of it by turning and facing towards the threat. There's a couple of things that you said that really stood out. And the first one was, I thought it was a little weird. And Tony Blauer, who's a guest on the show, I called him the godfather of self-defense. Every person who's been in a confrontation in a bad situation says those words. I thought it was a little weird, but I didn't want to
Mm,
say something. I thought he was a little, it didn't feel right, but I didn't want to be impolite. And they always say these words, they see something, but they don't act on it. And that's the point I'm trying to get across to those people that are listening. Next time you see, I thought it was a little weird, there's a car there. maybe you just literally drive out of that place and don't even start doing your business. In your situation, you can go back and get a tool, and your pistol, or just go back with someone, or go back at another time. But isn't it interesting that even with your skills and experience, that you still didn't listen to your sixth
I
senses?
know. I know, and that's what's so embarrassing about the whole thing. My business partner in EVGUN, our pistol training uh, class, when I told him about it too, he was just looking at me and shaking his head. Bill, are you kidding me? It's like you walk directly into the trap. You know, when there's people in a scary movie start yelling because they separate and they're all doing something really dumb. It
Yeah.
was pretty much like that. It was just
And you're yelling at the TV. It's funny though, Bill. I was on an interview the other day on a radio station, and the interviewer asked me, you know, essentially asking me how not to embarrass a person when they're or how to make someone feel safe when they're telling you their stories. And I say to them, a story like yours, Bill. Bill, you actually did the right thing. And how can I say that? I say that because, Bill, you're alive, you're safe, and you won. You're safe and you won. Yes, in hindsight, should have carried. Yes, in hindsight, should have looked at the female as another possible target, another possible bad guy. But in reality, Bill, and this is what I say to so many people who've been through conversations, what you did was right because your outcome was good. Doesn't
Mhm.
matter about how it happened. Sure, it would have been nice to be able to draw a pistol on a bad guy, but end of the day, you won, which was also awesome.
Right. Well, thank you for that. I didn't feel like I won at the time, but having you put it that way, it feels that way.
It's true from my end. It's true from my experience. What I loved about what you said is you turn and face the threat. And that's literally what I teach with these stabbings, these where the parent is there and has to protect the child or family. Just turn and face the threat. And you said the words. He didn't want trouble. Bad guys, unless they're murderous, which happened in Bondi in Sydney and it happened in
Mm.
Germany a few weeks ago,
Oh
unless they're
yeah.
murderous or on drugs, they don't want trouble and they don't want to get in trouble. And you were a bit of trouble because you suddenly didn't fit the template. You weren't the guy at the back of his head. Suddenly you turned and boom, you were right there in front of him. And so you caused him to think, oh, this guy's not the prey that I thought he was.
That's right. And it's like you said, a lot of times these guys are cowards preying on the weak, the elderly, females at night, folks that aren't looking, getting sucker punched, things like that. They hardly ever want a man-to-man confrontation.
You're so
Almost
right.
never, unless they're crazy or like homicidal, like you were saying. But 9 times out of 10, if you turn and face the threat and are aggressive, uh, that threat is gonna go the other way.
And if it doesn't, at least your eyes are facing forward to the bad guy and you can see what's going to happen.
That's right. That's right. You can protect yourself now
Yeah.
instead of just being oblivious like I was. Yes, it's hard to admit it, but even I did it.
Yeah, and so they should too. You said the cowards prey on the weak. That may give the listeners the idea. Oh, these people are easy are pushovers. Well, they're going to pick you at your worst time, and they did with you. But then
Right.
you regained control of the situation. They should pick people at their worst time. They should pick the elderly. That's why I teach elderly people the self-defense. They should pick the weak, the person who's on crutches, because that's the bad guy's job. But it's our job, as listeners and viewers here to, okay, now I've got a file. I need to access that. I need to, not have my headphones in on full blast. I need to be able to look around. I need to be able to see that strange person that's not always there in my storage units and file that and think, what if?
Right, right. Yeah, thank goodness I didn't have headphones on or something like that too, or had been even more distracted. Had I been more distracted, it might have been a much worse situation.
Now, I do have a question with that, and it was really interesting that you, again, with all the experience, that you still were doing the, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and you're doing what we call the black dog. You're looking back and going, I should have done this, I should have done this, I should have done this, with hindsight. And yes, we can now add that on as a after action report, and use those tools next time. But in hindsight, would you have done anything differently from the time you pulled up to the time the bad guy came out of the building? Is there anything that you could have done despite not having a weapon? Anything you think you a time you would have done something different, or anything you would have done different?
You know, in a situation like that, it's, I guess it just depends on a lot of different factors. My wife, for instance, was in a grocery store parking lot getting some groceries not too long ago, maybe a year or so ago. And there were people walking in and out, men and women, and a gentleman came up to my wife. He didn't go to the men walking in and ask for help. He went to my wife to ask for help.
Oh,
And maybe it really was a guy that had just locked his keys in his car, but he was very, very suspicious. He was very twitchy, and he wanted to separate her from her phone. Hey, I locked my keys and my phone in my car. The store won't let me go in without a mask. Can I have your phone and call my wife or something like that? And he had lots of other opportunities to ask lots of different people in the parking lot. And so in her situation there, she did the exact right thing. I always told her a man should never ask you for help. A man should ask men for help when they're in trouble. And if a man is asking you for help, it should turn on your spidey senses and just say no. Don't worry about being impolite. Just say, no, I can't help you. I'm sorry.
yep.
And get to a safe place. But me, in that specific circumstance, I could have been more vigilant and not underestimated the girl in the dress, at the end of her car. I could have thought through it a little bit more, saying, I'm here by myself. There's another person here by themselves. It's kind of dark here. This is a dangerous situation. Maybe pay closer attention to your surroundings. And I was disarmed by the female.
Yep.
So maybe in the future, I think maybe if I were to do it again, I'll I'll say that bad guys come in both sexes, right? And
Yes,
it's
well
not always
done.
going to be a big man that's going to attack you in the parking lot, but you have to watch out for both.
Yeah, absolutely. And one last thing that I'd like to touch on is leaving. You said to your wife the advice is just say no and go to a safe place. So you're telling her to leave. You know, a lot of people think they're stuck in a situation. Just leave. Leave your groceries there and just drive away, or whatever you got to do. But I think
Absolutely.
you're being able to disengage out of the situation. You're not stuck there at any time. It happens a lot with carjackings or road rage. Or it really starts from road rage. The person's sitting there and the bad guys go to the car and is hitting your vehicle. For some reason, these people think they're stuck when you can just drive the vehicle away. So I think for listeners, you're never stuck in that situation. You can just leave at any time.
Yep, great advice. And the same thing that we teach people in our classes is if you are involved in a situation where you actually have to use a firearm to defend yourself, make distance,
Yeah.
make distance and get to cover. And
Yeah.
so if you're unarmed, make distance and get to people, right? Get away from the X and get someplace safer. And you don't have to be polite all the time.
Hell no. No, as you're saying about your wife's situation, I remember I had a guy, I was walking down the street a while back, this weird looking guy. I'll just say weird because
Yeah.
that should get your senses going off. He was approaching me and I just went, I don't speak English. Now, isn't that
That's
funny? I'm saying it in English.
right. He's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and boom, that disarmed, and it was just a break in whatever there was is happening. There's a little break there, and it can be just as easy as that. So, oh, no English, and keep walking.
Yeah,
And
brilliant.
as a man, I often do the acknowledge the smile, at someone, and then carry on. You're just acknowledging them. But as my sergeant major used to say in the New Zealand SAS, be friendly, be polite, but have a plan to kill everyone you meet.
Yes, I've heard that. It's wonderful.
Bill, that's awesome. I really want to sort of chunk that part off there. Thank you so much. I really mean that for sharing your
Sure.
story, being open to share it, and so others can learn. But before we started recording, you spoke about something you do over there, which has really stood out to me. and this is in the veteran space, in the mental health space. You talked about Camp Hope. I just wanted
Mhm.
to hear that in your own words, because I know you support them. What does Camp Hope do over there, and then where can we find them?
So you can find Camp Hope online at ptsdusa.org. And this is a group of people that we strongly believe in, and we donate some services to them. That we built their website. We help them online quite a bit. But what these folks do is, the United States military has been in continuous combat operations for almost 30 years. We have 500,000 men and women fighting around the world in lots of different countries, some you probably most people never even heard of. And these kids and young men and young women are coming back with severe PTSD. And it's epidemic in the United States. I don't know what the exact statistic is, don't quote me, but I believe it's like every 2 minutes an American soldier is committing suicide.
Wow.
It's directly related to the PTSD of combat. And so this group, Camp Hope, the PTSD Foundation of America, will go out, and if a family member or the vet calls or a friend calls and says, hey, this guy's in trouble, I don't think he's okay, I think he really needs to talk to somebody, they will drop what they're doing, fly to a different state, find that vet where he is, talk to him, see if he wants help, put him on a plane and fly him back to Camp Hope here in Houston. And there he'll stay for free. They put him up in the camp. It's a really beautiful facility, private rooms and bathrooms and things like that, and people to talk to. And it's all run by other vets that have been through the program and have survived. So it's vets helping vets, people who understand really what it's like. Because I'm not a soldier. I've never fought in combat. I've never been in combat. So as much as I sympathize and as much as I know about shooting and the shooting sports and this and that, I really can't speak to them where they need to be. So I do my part with just keeping up the website for them and leave it up to the real heroes that have gone and done this stuff and have survived and come back. And now they're helping others go through the same thing.
I love that. It's so hard for people to realize you can't switch that soldier off and the next day, air quotes, become a civilian. And there's a lot of things that go on mental health wise, but they do need help. And it's really nice to hear something like Camp Hope is there. I really wanted to touch on that.
Well,
Um,
thank you for asking about that.
yeah, you're very welcome. I mean, I am a Kiwi, and it's like a Canadian American rivalry when I'm here in Australia. But I believe in Australia, the amount of deaths in combat um, is, I think it's maybe a third, or even smaller than by veteran suicide over here as well. So it's not just a
Oh yeah,
USA thing. It's pretty high.
far surpasses it.
Yeah, pretty high. Um, Bill, thank you again. Where can people find you and your CCW course? Where's the best place or best
Sure.
point of contact for you
Um,
yourself?
you bet. Please visit us at evgun.com. That's just evgun.com. It's short for everythinggun.com, which is the actual company name. And evgun.com or evgun.com is where you'll find our classes. And everythinggun.com has everything else, 30,000 products from firearms to holsters to camping gear. All that can be found on everythinggun.com.
Oh, I'm not sure if I should visit the website now because I'll do a man thing and buy everything in the shopping cart.
That's right.
Oh,
Well, I think that's
awesome.
how we met, is our interest in tactical gear.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Gosh, Bill, thank you so much. Great to see someone in Texas again. I hope everything goes well for you there. Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
openness to talk about your situation and thank you for supporting the veterans as well.
All right, you bet. Well, it was great to be here. Thank you.
Hey, lovely to have you on the show. I'll hit pause. We'll have a quick chat.
Hi, thanks for watching. I'm Damien Porter, former New Zealand Special Forces operator and former Australian police officer, and your podcast host. Please check out my new project at hownottodieguy.com, where I teach everything you need to know to both males and females, at risk populations, schools, kids, and the elderly for self defense, situational awareness, and all round skills that every good person should know. Thanks for watching.